Hello everyone, Sarah here. I have a feeling that this video is going to be a little echoey, so if it is, I will probably do a dub over. But what I wanted to do was to continue with the Simon Says stamp card kit for March 2020. And mainly what I want to focus on is the watercolor pencils. Because they gave this in the set, I would like to try to play with as many variations as possible. So what I had done off camera is I had created these 4 cards. So this one was one of the watercolor papers that were printed out. And just to start off, I'm not familiar with watercolor pencils or watercoloring in general. I just find it very interesting, relaxing, and I just love doing it. But I try watching YouTube videos just to understand, but either it's going to be the bare basics or really advanced, and I just haven't learnt just in the between. So with these examples, I am just playing just to see what happens if I do something. So for this one, because I kind of wanted them to be white, and since the white pencil doesn't really show, I decided to go on the blue hue instead of the gray because I wanted it more springy light. And what I did was I just kind of colored lightly around the outside, and then I would get some water and I would spread it out. And what I'm using is just this. This is the only watercolor pen brush that I have. So that's why I can't do many techniques, I would assume, because I only have this one. But pretty much what I did was I just took some water and I kind of just added it and then kind of pushed it out. And that's why sometimes it's a little bit bluer on the ends and whiter on some others, because it just depends on how much water I had. But I think that's why you have these really dark lines, which I do like sometimes, is because I probably had a lot of water and it just sat there with all the pigment. But that's only a guess. Then what I did was I colored this whole thing yellow, and there's actually 3 colors here that I used, and I believe it was these 3. They're not named, so I actually had to number them, so I know which one's which. And I used these colors. So I colored the whole one with the brightest, and then, or actually it's kind of a dull, like a banana yellow. And then at the bottom, I took the darker color, the brownish one, and then just in the center, I really loaded it with this lemon yellow, and that's how I did that. For the background, I just used a bunch of green, and I just used a lot of water, and I just blotted it because I wanted to get that cloudy effect that I love about watercolors. Like, you can kind of see it here. It doesn't make any sense because it looks like it's bleeding off of the stem, but when it comes to watercolors, I actually like that. Oops, sorry, the camera's over here. I actually like that effect. It doesn't matter if I stay in the line with watercolors. I actually really like that effect. Of course, it doesn't look as nice if you look at that spot right there where the green is kind of on the flower. So in that sense, I'm not a big fan. But over here, when it clouds or blotches, I just absolutely love that effect, and that's what I love about watercolors. So that's the one I created. This one is on just regular watercolor paper. I'm not sure what brand it is. It's a mixed media. And I took one of the stamps from the kit and I just created a background with it. And I decided to choose 5 colors. So you have the yellow, a blue, a green, and 3 greens. And what I did with this one was I added some color and I just pretty much piled the water on to see what would happen. And so what you can see is, once again, you get these really dark lines. Instead of it being smooth all across, it just created these really dark lines. So what I did was I kind of pushed it again to fill in the rest of it so it wasn't all white, but you still had those dark lines that are showing up. And I'm not a huge fan of this one, but if you were to take a look at this one, that is the type of style I like, where it's just a bare, it's not as noticeable. It just has that nice transition, or even this one is really pretty where it's that cloudy effect. For this one, this also came in the card kit and it was on some watercolor. I just wanted to play around with shading. So over here, I just wanted to see what would happen if I didn't follow the lines that were drawn, and just see what would happen if I try to do a transition between that olive green and the red there. Also with the shading, it's the same color. What I did was I just added less water, I believe, to this area. So I colored the whole thing with that red. And then I went over it again, just in certain areas, and I just added the water. And you can kind of see how it just kind of gets dark and pushes it. This inspiration was actually because of a poppy. I'm not sure if this is a poppy, but looking at a picture of a poppy, usually it's red, and then you actually have the black, these little black circles. So I used that as an image reference, but I just stuck with the same color because I did not want to go black, just in case it didn't look right. Here is just brown, but what I did was I tried to follow it with the same brown on those lines and just added a little bit of water to keep it dark. Now this one it looks like a mess, and I purposely did that because I really wanted to see what would happen if I just added lots of water. So these are just using some browns and pretty much, I'm not sure what color that is. It's not yellow, but they're shades of brown in a dark gray. And so I just blotted everything. So I colored it all and I just added more and I just blotted it and just made a mess. And I purposely did that because I wanted to see what it would look like. And then because I only have this brush, I can't make big splotches. So I splattered it, but you can only see these little specks. So those are the 4 cards. I made 2 using the stamp set, and then these 2 were part of the March 2020 card kit by Simon Says Stamp. So what I want to do is just create some cards using these. So that's what I will do, and I may do a voiceover just because I think it is a little echoey in here, but let's get going. Okay, so I accidentally cut this wrong. I was meaning to do it elongated, and I just happened to cut it a little too short, but let's see if we can work with this. So what I've done is I cut some Nina cardstock that I have in my stash in 2 different shades. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the stamp set. Because I made the mistake, I'll just put a stamp here. But what I want to try first, and I don't know how this is going to work, is I'm going to take some Distress Ink Vintage Photo. I'm just going to lightly shade that area because that's where the stamp is going to be. I just want it to have a little bit more focus there. So if we just clean that up. So ideally, if you have your stamp here, you'll kind of see that it's a little bit shaded there. And maybe, you know what, maybe I'll just kind of continue it just so it's just a little bit. So it's a little more transitional. And, you know, just to give it a little bit, maybe I'll just do a little bit of this. I have seen people do this approach, and it just gives us a little bit of a separation. So let's try that. Let's see how that goes. So if I glue this together, I'm going to use this Crafty Tacky glue only because everything is packed away right now, and this is sitting right beside me because this came from the card kit. I'm not a big fan of this glue for gluing big pieces. Actually, you know what? No, I can't use this. And the reason for that is because this watercolor paper is pretty warped. So I want to have some really strong adhesive, and the double-sided glue or tape is best. So actually, let me just clean this up first. Clean this. Okay. So I'm going to use some of this double-sided adhesive just because it is warped watercolor paper. And I don't want it to pop off the card if I use liquid adhesive. And it most likely will. So I'm going to, if I had a thicker tape, I would have done that. For example, if I had 1/2 inch, but like I said, everything is kind of packed away right now. I am moving currently into my own home in Victoria, and everything's all over the place. So I'm just going crazy with this double-sided tape because I don't want this thing to pop up at all. So let's just, of course I accidentally taped over other tape. So let's kind of fix that. I will say though that the watercolors are a lot of fun, and I'm very excited to get it in the card kit of March. It was a little, I do already own watercolor pencils, and I also have some Inktense pencils that I absolutely love. But for these ones, I stuck solely to the ones that were provided in the kit. So if I cut this correctly, there is about, actually let's get rid of this. There is about 1/8 of an inch. Something like that. So let's put that down. I believe this cardstock is called Husk, and it's part of the Nina Craft paper collection. Okay, I do have a stamper block, and I think I will, since this is, you know, it's a time where people are being missed, just because we have to keep our social distancing for a while, I'm going to use this one. It is kind of tight, but we will make it work. For this, I am going to use my VersaFine Color ink. This one does seem to have a better detailed ink from what I have seen. I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to put that right near the bottom there and hope that it, I think it moved. Oh, perfect. Oh wow, that was good. I felt it move on me, but it didn't actually make a smudge. Okay, so it's a little, I'm gonna add a little bit more distressed. I don't know what's gonna happen because this is inked. It looks a little bit dry, but I'm just gonna add a little bit more. You know what? No, I'm gonna leave it. I don't want to wreck it. Okay. Now I'm just going to glue this onto a piece of, it's called Honeycomb Nina cardstock, and I will use this craft tacky glue. Like I said, this is actually better for fine detail gluing. So I don't recommend using it for this. I have art glitter glue. I could have spent the time to look for it, but there's also the factor of laziness that is making my decisions. But you can tell it's not very good for this. It is very fine, it's very thick, and it's awesome for small embellishments. Now this one should have a 1/4 inch border. So if I do that, that should be correct. Oh no, a little bit less than 1/4 because I matted it with the husk paper. Now this paper is still a little warpy because even though I did double-side the tape, this husk paper is not very thick. So it also will warp it a bit, so there's my card, and then I will just glue it to a card base. This will be a landscape card, and I am going to keep about, what's that, 1/8 of an inch border? I think that's what it is. So this larger piece is measured by 4 inches, or no, 5 1/4 inch by 4. Oh man, this is, I'm starting to think that my laziness needs to, okay, you know what? I can't be lazy anymore. I need the glue. Okay, so this is the one that works much better. So I'm just going to glue this. Comes out a little bit smoother. I did get some paper. This is from Staples, and it's supposed to be 110 pound. I don't know if it really is because I felt 100-pound paper feel thicker than this. But I did buy 200 sheets of this, so that's what I'm going to be using for a while. It's nice and white, and it does hold my cards pretty well. It's not too flimsy, so. But I have had recommendations on what to use, but for now, I will stick to my Staples 110-pound cardstock. And there you go. This is the first card using the pencil crayons that I got, or the watercolor pencils that I got in the kit, and I stamped it using the Simon Says stamp that come in the kit. So I just stamped it in different locations. I had lots of water and I splashed it with some cards. Ended it with a Miss You, which is perfect for this overall nice, simple card. Okay, so the next card, what I've done is I have fussy cut most of the white around these daisies here. I did leave some, but I did fussy cut a little bit between them. And what I decided to do was in the paper pad that came with the kit, I grabbed this piece. And it kind of has this beautiful stormy weather look. And I don't know if you've ever witnessed this before, but it's one of my absolute favorite feelings when it comes to the spring, summer, especially in Ontario. When a storm is coming, like a thunderstorm, and all the trees and all the flowers, for some reason, the color of them amplifies so much against that dark, stormy sky. And this is my inspiration for that, and I absolutely love it. It's like the flowers know the rain is coming, and they're just looking up, full bloom, just waiting for that rain to come. Yeah, so I'm going to use that, and I'm going to make this as my base card. Okay, someone just came to the door, so I had to cut the video short, or cut the video. But there we go. So I'm going to do that, and it will be a landscape card. Now the only thing missing is maybe some sentiment. I'm thinking about lifting this up just behind the flowers, because I want them to kind of look like they're coming out. And to do that, I will use some scrapbook.com foam adhesives. I thought I had, oh, there they are. So they come in two sizes, the big and the small, and I think I will use the mixture. Because I don't, oops. Okay, so kind of what I'm thinking is that it would be mostly just the top kind of pieces, so maybe about to here. Let's see how this goes. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to glue this to my card base just to make it easier. I'm going to use my art glitter glue. And the reason I like glue is just, oops, it's just because I have time to maneuver it. That's way too much. If I use any sticky adhesive, I just don't have the forgiveness. Which is not a problem actually if you're doing, it's more of a hassle for me if I'm trying to create a little border. But you know, with time, I will learn how to do it. So once again, this is on a piece of 110, it doesn't feel like it, Staples paper. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just take all the release paper off. And you know, to me, I really loved that. I love the storms. Okay, I'll just put a little glue here. And then we'll just glue this right so that it follows exactly the same. And then we'll stick that on. I think this paper wasn't aligned properly. Okay, so now we have that. So all I'm thinking is that we're kind of missing a sentiment and maybe an embellishment. So I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I do have some of these sentiments here. It'd be nice if we were always stronger together. Oh, you know what I would have been nice if I could have got that. Dreaming of when we were together again. Actually, that one's really sweet too. I think I like that one. I kind of wish I thought of the sentiment before I glued everything together. That happens. Because what I would have liked to have done is heat emboss that. But let's keep moving. Let's see what happens. So what I would like is to do something like that. And I'm just going to go right on top of this paper. I will take the chance of using, should I use the Misty? I don't know if the Misty will work because I have this all propped it up. So I will use a block. And once again, I am going to use my VersaFine ink, the Nocturnal. This works really well. I just pray that I get excellent covers the first time. Okay, so fingers crossed. I'm going to put this down. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so there we go. I don't have any embellishments. I don't. Actually, I do have some of these sequences. And I do stick them on everything. It's just so I can use them up. Maybe we can use some of these. So, maybe we can use some of these white ones. I don't know if these are going to be too bright. I'm looking for kind of a darker one or the translucent ones. If you use the translucent ones, then it's not so bright. I don't want the silver one. Will that work? Kind of gets lost there. You know what? Maybe I'll just stick with the 3. Because sadly they're not in different shapes. Like if they were different sizes, then you can get away with a little more, but when they become so unison in size, you don't want too many of them, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to use the Simon Says Craft Tacky Glue, which did come in the kit. I think this will work better for doing this than actually gluing a whole card base. Now, I just realized you'd be a little careful with these ones just because they are see-through. So you don't want to put too much glue, but you need to put enough glue to make it stick. There we go. I just want to try to get some of that glue off. And there we go. I really like this. It's really cute, and I love We Are Stronger Together with these flowers all together. There to protect each other, so if a storm is coming, they will be there to get through it together. I think these sentiments this time, around this time, is it's just perfect. Miss you and We Are Stronger Together. These are just amazing. So there is that card. Okay, for this one, I'm going to play around with this paper, but because I don't actually have any paper that came into the card kit that matches this color, I decided to play around with some oxides. And I did do this off camera, and so I believe this is mustard yellow and sponge sugar. And is it mustard yellow? And squeezed lemonade. Mustard yellow, squeezed lemonade, and just sugar or sponge sugar. The other thing I did, and I don't know if you can see that, is that I added some shimmer. There we go. I added some shimmer to it by using a Spectrum Noir shimmer pen. And I watched someone do it, and they kind of just used a block, and they just kind of do this, and it spreads it all over the place. The drawback to that is that if I weight my fingers on it, I do get shimmer on my fingers. So although it looks really pretty, you do get the glitter on your fingers. Now this is nothing fancy. I just made little blotches, smoothed it around, added water, dabbed it, and then sprayed it with some more yellow. And that's how you get this card. And this is off of Bristol Smooth cardstock, so that it gives a smoother texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to trim this down, and I don't need to see too much. This was actually just for fun, playing with ink, so I decided I would just use it up, and it kind of does match as long as I don't show too much of the light pink, because it kind of matches like that, you know. So I've trimmed this down to 5 3/3 of an inch. And I think that looks good. The only thing I kind of want to do is I think I'm going to add another matte layer. I just don't know which color I'm going to use. So I have this American craft cardstock. So I have a yellow. Is that too much? I think it might be too much. Now we can try to go bold with some black, and that will create just the slightest little contrast, which is kind of neat. Like really bold, really bold. And if we keep it really thin, it won't take away too much, but it gives you that shadow. And because the colors in the back are so bright, we may get away with this. It's looking really sharp. So I'll put that in the navy pile. I just think any other color that we use is just not going to, it's not going to work. Just because there's just too many colors already, and to favor one color over the other just may not be, may just not look right. Now this is another option, and this one's not bad either, and this will give it so that it's not as bold and more subtle. You know what? Let's try that. I don't normally use gray, and I think it might be underutilized. So what I'm going to do is just going to cut this up so that I have a little bit of space. Okay, so this is just the slightest, I'm giving it just the slightest little border. As you can see. And what I'm going to have to do with this is use the double-sided sticky tape, because this is watercolor paper and it's very warped. So I always like to try to use this double-sided tape. If you have thicker, or wider I should say, wider tape, that would work way better, because then you can just have a lot more coverage. Now I have to be very careful, because once you set this down, this is not coming up. So I kind of want to make sure that everything is correct. I'm really bad at this, so this is really tough. But practice makes perfect. So I'm pretty sure it's a very, very skinny, very skinny. Let's see if that, it's a little off. It's a little off, but not bad. Yeah, see, it's a little off on the bottom, there. I really have a hard time trying to mat these things when I don't have adhesive glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start trimming a little more, just so it's more unison. Okay, so you get less of the gray just because I had to trim it more. I don't know how people, maybe it's just through trial or learning, but I always have a hard time trying to glue a mat on. But you can still somewhat see it, and then it doesn't hide too much of that pretty paper in the background. Once again, I am going to use the double-sided tape, because even though it's on this mat, the mat is now. Now let's try this one more time. I want to center this. So maybe if I use my mat here, this will help. Let's try that. Okay. That is looking really sharp. I really like that. The really bold, bright, yeah, it doesn't take away from this beautiful flower here. It actually worked out pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to adhere this to the card, and I'm going to cover the whole thing in this case. For this one, I will use my glue, my liquid glue. I feel that it's going to be strong enough to get a good coverage and stick down. Maybe if I had an ATG gun, that would work probably as well. But I do like the liquid glue. I just am able to maneuver it a lot more. Okay. Now this card has no room for sentiment, and I purposely left it that way just because I didn't want to take away from the card. So what I might do, and I don't usually do this, is stamp inside the card. I'm trying to figure out which stamp I would want to do it. Maybe I'll just do the block one. I have used this before. And maybe if I just, yeah, that might be cute. That might be nice. So I will take my block, and I will take my Versify ink again. Get good coverage here. And I'm just going to stamp this right in the center. Well, a little bit higher than the center. To be honest, I don't know if that was straight. I can't tell in this angle. There we go. Oh, not bad. Not bad. So we'll let that dry for a second. Now this, I'm not overly happy with this. This is Staples. Oh no, see? Ah, nuts. It must have fallen on the stamp when I think I had my stamp open. So I got a little damage here. What can I do to cover that? Okay, I do have these Nouveau drops. Will this, what's this color like? The only thing is that's a big spot. If I add the word hello, that kind of blocks it. Yeah, what do I think? You know what? Let's just go with it. It wasn't meant to, but you know, let's just keep moving forward and see what we can create. You never know what will happen. You can end up with something that turns out better, and you can make future cards just on mistakes that happen. So I'm just going to use the glue and try to hide that as much as possible. Like that. And it is sticking a tiny bit at the top, but that's okay. Okay, sorry for that. And then I'll just add that glitter on. Make sure you get every piece of it. You can kind of see that there, nice and glittery. Now the only thing left is I still have a little bit of ink here. So maybe I will use these Nouveau drops and just kind of cover that. And there that is that card. Okay, for the last card, I have this one that I created with the stamp that came from the stamp set. And I'm going to keep this relatively simple. First off, if I had an A2 size die, I would have cut it just to give it some stitching, but I don't own one. So I'm just going to keep it simple and just have that as the back. And then what I'm going to do is I want to heat emboss this sentiment on the black cardstock. And what this sentiment says is, dreaming of when we will be together again. And I think that is very sweet. Definitely appropriate. This whole card kit seems to be appropriate at this time. So I made a large piece. I don't know if I will trim it or not. We'll see how it looks when it's all done. And I'm going to use my Versamark ink. I need to powder it up first with my anti-static pouch. Let's do that. Okay, everything is all over the place. So I love these Versamark. It's nice and thick. And let me just get that on there. That looks pretty good. And I'll cut that because I don't want that ink to get everywhere. And I'm just using some white embossing powder by Ranger. And I'm just going to coat this up pretty well. Normally I would use a piece of printer paper, but like I said, everything is packed up and all over the place. This is looking pretty good. I love that Versamark ink. It just does an amazing job with keeping things clean. I'll dump this back in. And look at that. That is really nice. And so what I plan on doing is I want to stick it on that card. I made it a little bit longer than I needed, but it's just going to be so simple like that. I did get a little bit of specks on there, but that's okay. And what I will do is I'm going to lift this up, get some foam tape. Let's do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. It gets less used, which actually is not a huge problem if I use this up, because this tape is absolutely dreadful. It's over sticky and it sticks to everything. I'm not sure what brand it is, but if I were to find out, I would never buy it. Just because it is just super sticky. Okay. So next, let's just, this is water paper, so I will have to use some double-sided tape. I can hear the seagulls outside. It's just absolutely beautiful out there. If it wasn't for crafting, I'd be outside enjoying that sun. It's just absolutely stunning out there. So beautiful, and actually makes this card feel even better, just because the colors on this card match exactly what I'm looking outside, with the sun, the blue sky, and all the greenery. It's just absolutely stunning. Okay. And sadly, once again, I'm not very good at setting things down, so I will trim anything that's hanging over, and only you and me will know. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sentiment, and I'm thinking about it because I feel that this sentiment is lacking a tiny bit. I feel there's room for a little bit of improvement on this, but I'm not sure what it is. If I need to have a die cut, maybe fussy cut some leaves and have them, I'm not sure, but something doesn't seem. Or it could just be a simple this is where it'd be nice if I could have a live video and just ask people what I should do. Because sometimes people see things differently. You know what? Let's just go with it. I can always make another card. It's not a big deal. Yeah, let's just keep going. Let's keep this nice and simple. So I'm just going to put that right in the center there. Here we go. And I think everything, it's a little crooked. But because it's on white, you don't actually see it. But I will trim the bottom. To make sure that when you open it, you don't see it. And that should be that. Now, what can I add to that? I kind of like how simple it is. I mean, I could add glossy accents to the leaves, or add some glitter like I did with the shimmer pen. Add some stickles, sequences. But you know what? I think for the last card, I'm going to keep it very simple. It's just to the point, just sentiment with a nice, summery, springy background. So that's that. Okay, so here are the 4 additional cards that I used. I created with the pencil crayons, or the watercolor pencils. I just absolutely love working with watercolors. It's a lot of fun. You can create some pretty cool things. I'm only just beginning, but I'm very happy. Look at the glitter on that one. I'm just very happy with the outcomes. 4 totally different style cards, but one amazing kit. I hope you enjoyed these cards. I had a lot of fun making these ones as well. If no more card kits come, I will definitely be making more cards out of this. And stay safe, take care of yourself and family, and I will catch you later. Bye.